Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and I warmly welcome you all to the session. I hope everybody are doing fine and staying safe in your homes in this pandemic spreading time. Here in Saudi also situations are not that much good, but we are taking care and learning to live with corona, and this is the only solution nowadays as we know. Many of you know me well, but there are many friends now watching this program. Okay, let me introduce myself to you. I am Shambhu, native of Kollam, studied in SN College and completed my doctoral and postdoctoral research in aquatic biology and fisheries. Currently working as professor in Faculty of Marine Science, King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I am so happy to join with you in this webinar organized by Dr. Srija. And also I am very glad to share my experience in the field of aquaculture to you. So let's go to the session. Have a look on the data on global fish production and its projections to 2030. The dark lines show the production in total, capture, and from aquaculture. And the dotted line indicates the projected or expected quantity required towards 2030. We can see that in 2010, the total seafood production was 150 million ton, the red line. You can see that from both capture, that is the blue line, and aquaculture, the violet line indicates. The trend shows that by 2030, aquaculture production will be reached to 95 million ton. That will be same as the quantity what we are getting from capture fisheries. Now our aquaculture production is around 60 million tons and another 30 million, that is 50% of the current production, needs to be achieved within these 10 years, which is possible only through the development or the invention of advanced cutting edge technologies. Before entering to the innovative technologies that we have developed to improve aquaculture production, we have to have some basic concepts or understandings on aquaculture. Let me explain to you on certain facts. Look at the table. I have shown different farming practices of shrimp and fish since aquaculture started. In the beginning, it was traditional type and we did it without any scientific basis. At that time, there was no stocking or feeding for fish. We practiced it near the lakes, backwaters, lagoons, where water enters by tidal action. That was a culture practice of traditional farming. Whatever we harvest from these places were our profit because there was no investment and management. Based on the profit that we got from this culture practice, we realized the importance of aquaculture and developed an extensive farming method with a definite scientific approach. And we stocked more number of juveniles in ponds, say 25 pieces per meter cube, and fed with proper feed. After a period of time, thereafter by 2000, we enhanced the stocking density up to 75 pieces per meter cube from this 25. And in 2015, we developed the technique to stock 250 pieces per meter cube. And right now, we have developed technology Z0 RAS, that means zero water discharge recirculating aquaculture system, to grow shrimp at 450 pieces per meter cube. So just think about the improvement of aquaculture production by the implementation of scientific knowledge. And also see the production here per hectare, that is from 1.5 ton per hectare per year to 300 ton per hectare per year. And also see the production of fish, 1 ton hectare per year to 180 ton per hectare. These tremendous improvements were achieved through the development of technologies in all aspects of aquaculture. And all these improvements were achieved within a period of 60 to 70 years of aquaculture history. For the improvement of aquaculture, the major changes or the techniques or inventions were made in aquaculture engineering, reproduction and broodstock management, molecular approaches in the genetics or the breeding program, disease management, feed formulation and preparation, grow out technology. There are different types of culture practices were developed, both in shrimp, fish, and even in the shellfishes. Automated scientific methodologies were developed for pond monitoring or pond management, sea cucumber farming, and the uses of biofilters and conservation of the environment. When we talk about aquaculture engineering, we know that the face of aquaculture is now being changed in a revolutionary style. From the manual operations, now it has been moved to mechanical or machine operations for the construction of big ponds and projects. As we all know that Saudi Arabia is a desert land with camels, dates and petroleum products. But in fact, Saudi Arabia is one of the leading seafood production country in the world. There are more than 30 mega aquaculture projects situated at Red Sea coast as well as the Persian Gulf coast at eastern side. In order to understand the scientific technologies that we are being used in industry, I would like to take you a shrimp farming project in Red Sea. This is National Aquaculture Group, one of the leading aquaculture group in the world, situated at the coast of the Red Sea. The project has around 240 square kilometers area near the Red Sea, and it has the capacity to produce 4,500 metric ton of fish and 10,000 to 12,000 metric ton of shrimp every year. The project has its own power plant for the power production for its various operations. The water quality parameters are recorded by scientific probes, and the brood stocks are reared under biosecured centers. The brood stocks are special one, and they are the disease-free brood stocks called the specific pathogen-free, which are rearing under strict controlled conditions in the broodstock center. There are many floating pumps which have the capacity to pump around 90 cubic meter water per second. The robotic feeding unit which helps to give the food properly to the growing juveniles and the broodstock. The hatchery facilities is highly appreciable with world standards of procedures and protocols. There is a fully automated feed mill which has the capacity to produce 500 ton of feed every day for its various uses in the fish farm as well as in the shrimp farm. The water quality parameters of the pond are recorded by equipments and by probes, and the recorded data is sending directly to the concerned unit, and it is fully computerized system. There is an advanced scientific lab is set for the analysis of the water quality parameters, the soil textures as well as the microbial load in shrimp as well as in the water. The qualified scientists or the experts are analyzing the quality of the shrimp meat, the approximate composition, digestive enzyme activity, digestion, and lot of the parameters related to the shrimp behavior and shrimp health. I think this face is very familiar to you all people. She was here with me in last vacation time. The pond management by with aeration, and it is very interesting to see that the feeding is by compressors. Once we put this one, this a compressor will spray the food to the pond, and you can see the size of the shrimp checking by the technicians. And regarding the harvest, there is a peculiar harvest machine, and there is no hand touch to the shrimp at any time of harvest. The shrimp are collecting by suction force, and there is a compressor and a special device harvesting machine, and once it is collected, the shrimps are directly fall into the ice slurry, which will be immediately taken to the processing plant for the production for the processing of the shrimp into different products such as IQF, semi-IQF, and block uh, products. And all these processing procedures are under strict ISO certification and standards. Today, cage culture is receiving more attention by both researchers and commercial producers. Actually, cages are floating ponds in water, which can be fixed by anchors or moved by steel or nylon ropes. There are different types of cages, like circular cages or rectangular cages. Normally, each cage has a diameter of 60 meters or sometimes 40 meters, and it has a depth of 20 meters. It exactly looks like a bag. As seen in the picture, we can adjust the depth of the cage by adjusting the nylon rope. So we can minimize the depth according, or what size we require accordingly we can use it. Similarly, it is very useful at the time of the harvest also. We can lift all the fishes, whatever it is in the cage, that can be lifted up so that the harvest will be very easy. The average stocking density of fishes in the cages, it is varying between species to species. For example, the sea bream and sea bass, they are stocking at the rate of 300 to 400 pieces per meter cube, and we are expecting a production of 500 metric ton per each cage. And I would like to take to you one of the cage farming of sea bream in Saudi Arabia, and this is a Tarawat project, and you can see the operations here. They are culturing the Mediterranean gilt-head sea bream Sparus aurata, which is a delicious fish and has a high market value. We can see the harvest of fish from the cage. The forklift is scooping the fish from the cage, which already been cornered, which is taking outside to a tub having with the ice slurry, and the fishes are directly released to the slurry box, which will help to immediately freeze the fish. And this type of fish is known as the halal fish because there is no hand touch, and the fishes are immediately preserving in the ice slurry, and this would help to make the fish quality. It's like a farm fresh fish. You can see that the fresh fish. After the harvest, the fishes are taken to the processing plant, and by standard procedures of processing, they are directly delivering to the market. If you want to fix such a cage of 60-meter dia and 20-meter depth, it may cost around to 120 to $150,000 nowadays. And last time we had a visit to the Tarawat fisheries to see the cage operations. Before stocking the juveniles in the cages, we are rearing the juveniles in the hatchery section, and once it attains the size of 20 gram, we are releasing to the cages. I would like to tell you a recently developed technology in aquaculture, which we call that biofloc, which seems to be a very promising technique, and it is very stable and sustainable for production, as the system has self nitrification process within culture ponds with zero water exchange. Fish and shrimp use these microorganisms aggregated as additional feed source, which increases the productivity and reduces the feed conversion rate, and also helping to prevent the diseases and consequently a sustainable production. This technology, initially known as bacteria flock, was initiated in fish or tilapia pond by an Israeli scientist, Yoram Avlinimetz, in 1980s. Biofloc technology was scaled up to commercial scale in 2000 in Indonesia and in Malaysia and Vietnam. I would like to take to a farm in Vietnam that you can see there, these the tanks, which indicates that there is no need for the earthen ponds or the cages or whatever it is. We can make this culture in the controlled area or the limited space what we have. And there is another technology called the semi biofloc system, which is applied in earthen ponds also, for the production of shrimp, and which has been successfully proven in Indonesia. In a full biofloc system, production can be used as nearly and which can be produced nearly 50 metric ton per hectare per cycle. So this is a highly developed technique that we can use for the aquaculture production. As from semi-biofloc, a production of biofloc system in raceways with Vanami, and this Vanami is also is showing a good growth in semi-biofloc condition. Actually, the water looks like green because of the aggregation of the microorganisms, algae, dead algae debris, and the congregation of friendly bacteria, etc., and which constitute or which congregated the biofloc, or sometimes we call it as a single cell protein source for aquafeeds. Biofloc technology is something like zero water discharge system. We are not releasing water to outside to harm the environment. And in order to get the biofloc, we need to add molasses and soya hull. And the pH has to be maintained between 8 to 8.5. In such situation and with good aeration, we can see the development of the floc in this water, which looks like water. Water looks green. Here we can see that the technician is checking the biofloc content in the water. He took the sample in the conical tube and he kept it here for 24 hours to see how much floc is accumulated. The standard volume of biofloc is around 12 to 15 ml per liter. A very innovative aquaculture technology is recirculation aquaculture practice, which is a technology for farming fish or any type of aquatic organisms by reusing the water in the production. Here is the design of recirculation aquaculture system, and you can understand how the water is taking and the water is cleaning or filtering or processing or recycling and is turning back to the system for culture. The mechanical filtration unit has a drum filter that you can see that the moving drum filter, which is covered by micro screen ranging from 10 to 20 micron size. And this micro screening, when it is moving, at that time it will be flushed with water, and you can see that the flushing of water by the spraying of the water. And inside the drum filter you can see a path for removing the sludge. So whatever the organic load in the water, that will be deposited in the inner tray, that can be taken out as a slurry. Once the slurry is removed, the water is taken for biological treatment. In this place we have the bacterial culture, and using this bacteria the water is cleanly treated with like something like a probiotic bacteria. And after the biological treatment, the water is subjected for oxygen enrichment, because by using the aerators. And once the oxygen is enriched by the aerator, then the water is subjected for degassing, because it has many foul gases like carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. And by treating this water, and the carbon monoxide or whatever the foul gas, that will be sending outside through the system. So this degassing chamber, which is very important to remove the dissolved gases in the water. And once the water is clean, perfectly clean, and this water is ready for further use of the in the tank. So the water is now sending, now you can see that the clean water is sending through the pipeline, and which is going to the culture tank. Now you can see that the pipeline is running, and the purified, the clean water is now entering to the culture tank. And all the aspects of the culture operations can be easily monitored from far. A well-established recirculation unit set for the culture of Penaeus vanami, the Pacific shrimp. Now you can see the tanks are built with glasses. So the advantage of this glass frame which helps the technicians to understand the feeding behavior of the shrimp inside, as well as the disease behavior or any moribund. Such type of things can be easily identified. The water quality parameters are sensing or recording by the probes, the equipments, which are digitally connected with the computer or from the distant communications. And we can see that a higher number of stock intensity we can use here. So the advantage of RAS is that we can go for big production even though we have the limited space. We don't need the big ponds like the cages or the open earthen ponds. We don't need. Because of these advantages, now aquaculturists are looking forward the recirculation aquaculture technology for the production of shrimp or fish. Considerable advances have been made on farming techniques and artificial production of commercially important species of biofilters such as sea cucumber, oysters, mussels, clams, cockles, seaweeds. And now the aquaculturists are very much interested to develop new technologies how we can improve the production of these biofilter organisms. Sea cucumbers are so significant as they are very low in calories and fat and high in protein, making them a weight loss friendly food. They also contain many powerful substances, including antioxidants, which are good for our health. Sea cucumbers are very high in protein, with most species, especially Holothuria scabra, the black one, which has about 63% of protein. They are very valuable creatures. Maybe a kilo of bush deer may fetch $700 to $800 nowadays. They are considered as a delicacy in Chinese cuisine, and sea cucumber soup is well known as its aphrodisiac property all over the world. Seaweed farming or kelp farming is the practice of cultivating and harvesting seaweed, the main food species grown by aquaculture in Japan, China, and Korea include Gelidium, Pteroclade, Porphyra, Laminaria, etc. Seaweed farming has frequently been developed as an alternative to improve economic conditions and to reduce fishing pressure and overexploited fisheries. Seaweeds have been harvested throughout the world as a food source as well as an export commodity for production of agar and carrageenan products. This culture can also be used to capture, absorb, and eventually incorporate excessive nutrients into living tissue. Nutrient bioextraction is a preferred term for bioremediation involving cultured plants and animals. Usually, the seaweed grows underwater for 4 to 5 days. When it reaches by 1 kilogram, all this collecting, then it is drying and packaged into bags to be exported to countries like China, Korea, and Vietnam. And this farming practice is in China. Most edible seaweeds are marine algae, whereas most freshwater algae are found to be toxic. Shellfish aquaculture, which includes the culture of oyster and mussel, is nowadays a sustainable and green industry. Oysters are well known for its filtering capacity. They can filter 100 gallons of seawater in a single day as a part of their natural feeding process. So, by consuming this water, they are consuming the suspended organic load in the water. Thereby, it improves the water quality and clarity by removing the particulates, excess nutrients, organic materials, even viruses and bacteria from the water column. Improved water clarity enhances the habitat for seagrasses, such as the eelgrass and other submerged aquatic vegetation. And these shellfishes help control harmful algal blooms, such as red tide, by removing algal cells before they accumulate to harmful levels. The shellfish beds stabilize sediments, helping to protect the shoreline from erosion. They remove the nitrogen from the environment, that is removed when the animals are harvested. And many techniques have been developed in this sector for the spat production, spat rearing, then the indoor culture, as well as for the breeding program and for the raft designing and even the process of these mussel and oysters. Mangroves are being threatened across their entire range and have suffered large losses over the past century, primarily due to increasing coastal populations and the conversion of mangrove land to aquaculture practices. They are unique habitats and home to a wide variety of marine and terrestrial organisms. At the same time, they are one of the most productive and most threatened ecosystem on Earth. As a step to conserve the environment and the marine habitat, techniques have been developed for the propagation of mangrove saplings and its planting and rearing. And afforestation program has been taken all over the world, which has got the attention of the environmentalist as well as the community, the people. Thank you. Thank you all for your cordial cooperation and watching my long presentation. I would like to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to Dr. Nisha, principal of this college, and Dr. Srija, head Department of Zoology, for inviting me to deliver a talk in this webinar. I would like to thank the faculty of the department and coordinators of the events for making this international seminar a grand success. Once again, I thank you all for your cordial cooperation and support.